What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fandalorian Club, the one of two Fandalorian clubs this week because Star Wars is up in our brains. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here for Chapter 19, Episode 3 of Season 3, titled The Convert. Very, very interesting episode here today. Super excited for multiple reasons. A bunch of cloning stuff happened. Bo-Katan's now part of a cult. And we have a special guest here on Fandalorian, which I'm really excited to get to. Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Interesting episode. I'll even say interesting episodes, plural. Plug both shows.
You're referring to Bad Batch? Okay.
Yeah, the Bad Batch.
Got it.
So yeah, a lot of stuff happening. A lot of Star Wars. You got 2 Star Wars shows. You had Ted Lasso came last night. TV shows are popping right now. So lots to watch.
No, there is definitely a lot to watch, which is always a good thing. It can get overwhelming at times, but it is a good thing to have a lot to watch, even in case you have time to watch it all. So
I don't mind. I have the time.
All right. Well, before we get to this conversation, let's go and bring him on. He is a part of Bite Size Breakdown. They're all over Twitter. They have a website. He's obviously a former movie trivia showdown competitor as well. Let's go and bring him on, Mr. Amaru Moses. What's up, man?
Hello. What is going on? That's still trippy that I was like former movie trivia showdown too, but that's kind of trippy still. Really is.
I literally had a dream about it the other day, and I woke up and I was like, "Was that real? It feels like it's been so long. Like it threw me off." So.
No, it definitely feels like a long time ago. But yeah, dude, you rocked it. You had fun with it. Super excited to get you here on the show, talk about this. You've been on the channel before, obviously, but never for Fandalorian. Super excited to hear your thoughts on everything going on with the show. Before we get into the episode, I do want to just pick your brain a little bit. There have been 2 previous episodes. How are you feeling about season 3 so far?
So, how many episodes are supposed to be in this season? That's my big question right now. 8. Gordon, what's up? Okay, it feels like a season 1, and I'm a little just like, y'all, what are y'all doing?
Okay.
That's where I'm at right now. Just a little bit. I'm like, all right, it's cool. The things aren't, you said, interesting, but I'm like, it's season 3. Let's pick it up just a little bit by now, please.
That's fair. I mean, he has a point. Yeah. All right. Let's dive into it. So look, we have chapter 19. We pick back up immediately from the previous episode where the mythosaur was revealed. Din is still passed out. Bo is sitting there. And before we get to the last part of the episode, let's talk about the beginning aspect of all this with Bo, Din, the TIE fighters, her castle being blown up, the starfight, like everything involved with this chase scene before the title card even showed up, which was incredible. Brian, I'll let you start us off, and then we'll kind of just jump in as we go along. What was your reaction to the beginning of this episode?
I mean, anytime we see a Star Wars dogfight, essentially,
sick.
Yes, please. I mean, the TV shows especially have been just absolutely like killing the dog fights. And it's funny because I had the last couple of weeks I'd been wondering like how Bo-Katan's ship kind of like fought off stuff.
I saw someone refer to it as the Tokyo Drift of Star Wars, and I'm losing my mind. She did the Top Gun move from Maverick.
She did.
Oh, it's so sick.
It was pretty cool. Very interesting. I think the thing that Scooby-Doo eared me the most was Bo being like, "Did you see anything in the water?" No, it just fell in. And then her being like,
We could talk about that. I mean, we talked a lot about like, is the mythosaur waking up per se for Din? Din didn't see anything. Bo did. What does that mean exactly? We don't know because the history of mythosaurs are like very vague and mysterious. But did it wake up because of her? Did it wake up because of Din? And we learned that the waters weren't always that deep, is what Bo said. Mm-hmm. The bombs lowered it, made it deeper, which means The Mythosaur was there the entire time, but nobody knew.
So yeah, y'all, Star Wars is my fandom that I'm kind of the least like knowledgeable about. So you're gonna have to catch me up here. I'm like a noob with this.
That's fair.
Mythosaur. What is behind it?
So the Mythosaur is the big creature from episode 2 that Bo-Katan saw. And
you know how anytime you've seen a Mandalorian, you've seen that skull?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what that was.
That's a Mythosaur skull, just shrunken down.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the only thing that we know about Mythosaurs is that they went extinct at one point. Apparently, they were destroyed, taken off planet. We have never actually seen them in any kind of media. They've only been mentioned. They've never been in a book. They've never been in a comic book, television show.
One book before Disney bought out, and so it's not really like.
So it is the like most mysterious part of everything happening right now in Star Wars is like, what does the Mythosaur exactly mean? Does it like call to someone? Does someone have to like train it or make it become rules. Yeah, like there's just no rules with it, so we don't know, but people are theorizing that it essentially like woke up or showed itself because the one true Mandalore, which is the leader for Mandalorians, has arrived, is present, etc. But now the question is it Bo or Din? Because they were both there.
The other like piece of lore that I know about is the Darksaber. So like the Darksaber was technically there, wasn't it? Because isn't Mando still carrying it?
Yeah,
so that kind of throws another wrench in it. So okay.
Yeah, and like the Darksaber has always been the one thing of like, if you have the Darksaber, you're the leader, right? Mm-hmm. Does the Mythosaur supersede it, or is it attached to it? I mean,
there's literally no like everyone is finding out the rules on the same playing field. Like it's
so fun to talk about. It is so fun.
There's no I mean, other than the skull and that they lived on Mandalore and they kind of look like dragons and that Tar Vizsla like had a hand in it. Other than that, no one really knows anything. So even the Daemons.
It's it's going to be interesting. That's obviously going to play a hand into it very much regarding both Bo and Din. Seeing the end of the episode, which we'll get to here in just a second, is going to play into everything with them as well. Armorer and Paz Vizsla and everybody. I'm a little bummed we didn't see the Mythosaur this episode, but I also understand why, because it's a big deal. So they're probably saving it for towards the end of the season because it's all going to play into one each other. But yeah, so we roughly just covered the Mythosaur at the very beginning, but then we get immediately into a dogfight, right? And we have all of these TIE interceptors, but then TIE bombers, dozens of more interceptors. Bo-Katan's castle gets destroyed. They're racing back to her home, and it's just no longer a thing anymore. It gets absolutely bombarded, and we get the incredible dogfight again. Now, the question I have for everybody here, Andy brings it up in the chat. Who are those TIE fighters from? Where are they coming from? Is it Gideon? Is it a different section of Imperials? Could it possibly be Thrawn, who we know is coming at some point? Rue, I'll let you start this one off. What did you think about all that stuff?
The dogfight was dope. So I'm going into this one. I have to make sure I don't compare this show one to Andor because it's a totally different like vibe. But also we got Andor and Papa Pedro's other show back to back. So I'm really, really like, yo, separate how you feeling coming into the show because it's gonna be a different vibe. So like, of course, I'm like immediately comparing it to Skarsgård's dogfight. Just as dope, just different vibes. I was really enjoying that, really enjoying them going into like bombing her home and seeing where that was going to go from there. My favorite part, hands down, though, is Grogu. One, knowing his deal, I'm out, closing it. But even before that, we might have heard him say, "This is the way" for the very first time. Just him trying to say it, and I'm like, yes, yes, keep going. That was my favorite part, hands down.
He's definitely talking at some point this season, right? Like he's got to say words.
It's getting there. It's getting so close.
Maybe.
I can't wait to see when Yeah, he's gonna say a word because that set it up.
I feel like it's coming. Like he's like the babbles and the like just mumbles are becoming much more frequent, but also different. I don't know. I mean,
he's definitely talking a lot more.
Yes.
Like he's making the like cooing noises and stuff a lot compared to like season 2. It was just like maybe 5 times the whole season.
Yeah. But I do think it would be pretty special if his first words were "This is the way." After hearing Din say it so many times,
if it just comes out like this deep man husky voice,
"This is the way,"
I would die.
But going back to the question, I'm hoping it's Thrawn because the rest of the episode we're going to talk about is where I'm hoping Moff comes in. Because that I was kind of waiting for it, but I'm hoping it's Thrawn. It'll kind of be a new way to a good way to bring him in here, but more so because of the other part of the episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the fighters were definitely Thrawn, and Bo. There's some pieces of dialogue that Bo was saying within the episode that made me believe that it wasn't Gideon, because she's experienced stuff like this before. She said, I think in Imperial warlords was the term that she used.
She says I've pissed off a lot of Imperial warlords.
And it's nothing like she's ever experienced before. Like there's just too many of them. So it leads me to believe that it's definitely someone bigger than Gideon. Because when we saw him in season 2, like he had a good arsenal, but it didn't feel like it was ever that big. Like bombers and interceptors and like what felt like an Imperial fleet. If someone at this point in time is going to have an Imperial fleet, it definitely feels like it's going to be Thrawn. Brian, talk about your boy.
I'm so torn about it. I am so protective of Thrawn that it's like I almost don't want anything to connect to him because I'm like,
oh, it's definitely connecting though.
I know. Oh no, I'm 100% aware of it. I mean, my biggest fear is by the end of this, he's dead. So like me, I'm like no, don't, because then.
Well, he's gonna be in Ahsoka though.
I know, but it's just I don't know. I just, for me, and I know this is a story that will be told. I just kind of like. I mean, we know Ahsoka said, "Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" I don't necessarily. I know everyone's just quick to assume. I don't necessarily feel like he is immediately back. Like everyone, like the way Rebels ended, like they seemed like they were going to be lost for a while. Which, I mean, they were. Granted, if it was from then until now,
maybe it's someone acting for Thrawn.
That's more for me what I think it is. I would not be surprised if it's someone acting on or using his name as a means. I have no doubt that he is going to show up at some point. But I don't know if I fully believe that he's the one commanding all of these things right now.
It's fair.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's. I still haven't gotten that feeling like, oh man, that's him. That's him doing these things. So I don't know. It could be Eli Vanto taking over for him while he's gone right now. Eli Vanto, for those that don't know, is basically his like right-hand man in the books. So I don't know.
We're all in agreement that it's not Gideon though, right?
I
don't think so.
I don't think so. It didn't seem. It seemed very aggressive, like, and plus they kind of made a point to make it sound like it wasn't him by saying like, "Oh, I heard he escaped" or whatever that line was.
Yeah, the rumors when we get to Coruscant. Yeah.
It's been a minute. Remind me where he was at the end of season 2.
Well, at the end of season 2, he was aboard the ship where
they fought
to Grogu, but and then it cut to black. But in episode 1? I think they said that he was transferred to a cell for the New Republic.
Yeah, he's being he's basically in prison from.
He was awaiting trial, I think, for the New Republic is what they said.
So basically, he escaped by now. We all
it seems it definitely seems like he escaped, and the New Republic's trying to not make that known. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. I mean, yeah, I feel like Gideon would find a way to escape. And obviously from the events of the episode, which we'll get to, it's clear that he still has people on the inside. So, okay, fast forwarding to the very end of the episode, because I don't want to kind of cut back and forth. Let's talk about when we pick back up with them out of hyperspace. They end up, Mando takes him and Bo to the armorer, the planet that they're on. We're not sure where this planet is exactly. And he's redeemed, which we talked about last week about whether or not that would be the case, whether she would just basically say, cool, I don't care, see you later. But he's actually redeemed, and Bo is also redeemed, and now is part of this cult that the armor is running here with many, many members. But the big part of this is the water that Din brought back. It seems to be an important piece to what the armorer is doing, whatever she has in store, maybe just to help build her armor and whatnot. I'm not sure, but it's very interesting. Either way, Din and Bo are both part of the Children of the Watch once again. Brian, thoughts on the end scene here with Bo, Din, and everything?
Well, I think the water has some type of magical property or whatever, because it did a whole shebang when she poured it in. And I don't think whatever it was in the pot was what made it.
Yeah.
So that is interesting to me. I'm starting to think, because personally, I get this feeling that Bo and Din at some point are going to become enemies. I feel like the complete opposite. See, I've for whatever reason, for a while, I've kind of felt like that at some point they're going to become enemies or something's going to happen. I would not be surprised. She's clearly not there to be a part of it. Like, she's just going to literally be like, this is a bunch of crazy people. I would not be surprised, because he seems all on board to be back with it, at least in my opinion. I think she might play spy and then eventually do something that will piss him off, and in turn may create tension between the two of them. Because I don't know about you guys. I don't think he seems like he actually genuinely is not just going.
Oh, he's still 100% brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the feeling that Bo is there, one, to keep an eye on everything, spy in on it, etc., but also to keep an eye on him. And I think over time, she's going to realize how important he is to her cause and try to snap him out of what's happening. I feel like it's going to be a Bo and Din show together against them rather than fighting. That's just me personally.
I'm not opposed to it, because those two are fantastic together. And I didn't realize until this episode that it says Pedro Pascal, Katie Sackhoff, and then co-starring everyone else.
She's the co-lead for sure.
She's the literal co-lead in this.
Yeah.
So
this conversation right here is why, even though I was kind of iffy on this episode, I'm still very excited, because coming into season 3, I legit thought the entire season was going to be about him getting redeemed. So like when he got redeemed so quickly, I was like, oh, okay.
I said the same thing.
So us not knowing what's happening with Bo, it's making me think, okay, we're actually getting a Mandalorian season, because it's going to be about not just Mando, but all of them. You don't know whether or not, what's it, Clan... I literally just watched it like 10 minutes ago. I can't remember. Clan Kreese, right? Whether Clan Kreese is going to be an enemy, Clan Kreese is going to be an ally, whether Bo is going to try to respect Din, go against Din, just everything that's been set up. Like when they were on the beach and she was like, I'm witness, and they were going at her, I was like, she's about to take her helmet off. It pissed him off even more, even though he said not to. And then she did it.
Yep.
And then she came in, got accepted, and was like, okay, sure. So it's a lot of intrigue in terms of how the two different clans are actually going to come together throughout the rest of the season. And what I really liked at leaving the episode, with a lot of unanswered questions and a lot more vision of like where this season is probably going to be going. And the fact that I don't know where it's going to be going has me really, really like excited to find out what's actually going to happen, because it can go a bunch of ways.
I've been saying it for so long, but the Mandalorian culture and storytelling is my favorite thing in Star Wars.
He says this every week.
I say it every week. And when they like double down and they make sure that we know, like, this is what we're doing. Like, we told the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. We had a bunch of stories around the galaxy, met a ton of different people, obviously Grogu. But now we are focusing in on what everything means to be a Mandalorian. And I'm with you, man. 8 episodes of people in helmets not seeing faces. I'm so down for that, because it's the most exciting thing in Star Wars. It's so new, it's so fresh, it's so unique.
This is why this episode confuses me so much.
It makes me so much more excited knowing that like she's with them, and we've seen in the trailer like shots of them like either attacking a city or something first. Like it's just gonna go down
100%
these characters, and I cannot wait for it.
Just a little quick side note, and this doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but I love that last week's episode ended with a shot of Bo, and this week's episode both started and ended with a shot of Bo.
It pretty much picked up this where it was off.
I love it because, like Brian said, people aren't going to mention or notice that she's right there next to Pedro Pascal's name. But having her be like the opens of both episodes and the closing solidifies that, like, yeah, she's here for the long haul. Like, Bo-Katan is here for the long haul alongside Din for this story. Super exciting. It leaves everything in a very interesting place.
I'm just glad Katie Sackhoff's getting her due.
100%.
Like, yeah, 100%. I personally, Bo-Katan, the character, kind of always grinded my gears in the TV, the animated show, because she was always just so like righteous. It seemed like and stuff. But then you get Katie Sackhoff live action playing this, and she's so good. It's so good. I love it so much. It's no one else played this role. No,
I agree. All right, let's jump to Coruscant. So we take a pretty big detour here during Mando and Bo's hyperspace time. We jump to Coruscant and we pick back up with Dr. Pershing as he's giving kind of a personal TED talk to the galaxy about cloning and kind of where he came from. And then we get a lot of good story here with this character as far as being reformed back into the galaxy from the Empire side to the New Republic side, and a lot of other Imperial mates with him along for the ride. And we get this big old story with him that eventually doesn't end up too well. And of course, the community and people who may not be as solidified as fans are going to be like, what a dumb episode, side story, filler, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was fantastic. I think it plays into what everything this story is going to be telling. Because remember, back in the first season, they were trying to clone Grogu. That's exactly what they were trying to do. So it has a history in this show. And I just thought it was great the way they told the story, because it gives us much more perspective on where the state of the galaxy is and what those former Imperial, soldiers were doing when the Empire did vanish and disappear and kind of go away. Obviously, it seems like one of them is still fighting for Gideon, fighting for the rights of the Empire, which we'll get to. But yeah, Brian, start us off, man. What did you think about Pershing? Anything that stood out to you the most?
I thought it was interesting. I don't want to say I didn't like it, because but like it definitely like it kind of like threw me off how we were like bang episode 1, bang season 2, and then this one kind of slowed it down. So it just kind of that threw me off. It was not a bad episode I'm not saying that in any means, but it threw me off how we were just kind of like boom, boom. Okay, we're gonna chill this episode. Like it definitely didn't. I mean, the way it started, it was not chill. But I mean, it did catch me off guard that we spent. I mean, this was like a 55-minute episode.
Yeah.
What 40-ish minutes probably with just Pershing. Like it was a lot. It was a lot of time. But it did also build on a lot of things, like things that were not known to us before. That there was a program for ex-Imperials to be basically put back into society as like helpful people and not just like throw them in jail. So I thought that was interesting because that's, to be completely honest, it's not something I ever really thought of before. Like I was just like, oh, Empire's bad. It fell. Case closed. Like I never actually thought about the people that are genuinely like having to pick up their lives after it. So I thought that was interesting. The only thing I'm kind of just bummed about is like we spent the whole entire time like going up like Dr. Pershing's story only for him to basically almost, I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen post this episode, but like
I imagine he's mind wiped is what I'm imagining.
I'm assuming now he's kind of a dead character, if you will. Mm-hmm. Like there's not going to be much more from him. So like, I don't know if we needed 40 minutes of
I think
that is not going to be used anymore. And I'm saying this not knowing, but from what I took, the character is pretty much done.
I think so. I don't think we'll ever see him again. I think the reason we got the story through him is because Elia Kane was in the shadows the entire time, and the story was
totally fine because she's
love her. The story was meant for her. I think it was 100% meant for her, and to see at the very end, obviously, the turn of her setting him up to go find a mobile workstation in the Imperial shipyards, and then saying, "Hell, I'm going to stay. I want to, be here for a friend." And then she cranks that bad boy up so he forgets everything he's ever known.
Yeah.
Who she's working for. Curious, it seems like Gideon would obviously want that information, but maybe he doesn't care about that information anymore.
See, now I always assumed it was Gideon.
I think so too. But they're wiping away all the information about cloning, which is why I thought it was interesting. Like what is the end goal that they're after? Like, do they already have the information and maybe wiping everybody off, world that has information about them personally? I don't know.
He didn't want proof of what he was trying to do.
Yeah, maybe
he was a loose end, essentially.
Yeah, possibly. Rue, what about you?
Yeah, so like the biggest thing for me is I'm all for side episodes. I like the little side ones, especially if they build on the world, and this did. But it was the length and the placement. Like I think if this was a 30-minute episode, 37-minute, 40-minute, that same kind of front and back and just load the middle with their story in a much tighter package would have kind of been paced better, would have just seemed like a better quote unquote use of time. Because we're in episode 3 already. We're about to be halfway through, and I'm still wondering when the story is getting started. So on top of that, if it wasn't for the cliffhanger of last episode, this seems like an episode 2 to me. This seems like episode 1 was hey, we're back, no big stakes. Remember the world, remember everybody, cool. And it shut it down real quick. It was a very quick episode. I was actually really surprised at how quick it was. Mm-hmm. It seems like this should have been the follow-up episode. Again, if not for the fact that they needed to set up the cliffhanger from number 2. Like, it would be, you get Bo and then at the beginning and the end to kind of further that story, tell us, all right, we're getting him being redeemed is done by episode 2. We're moving forward with the Mando story, get a little bit of the world building in a nice quick 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then move on to the rest of the story. So the idea of what they did, I'm perfectly fine with, perfectly cool with. I just wasn't with how long the episode was, and I'm also not with, or I wasn't too much of a fan of like this was the third episode and not the one before.
So do you think you would have felt different if they didn't have Bo and Mando in it at all? Like if it was just Pershing's
I think
story.
that saved people for that.
Okay.
For this episode, again, same thing. If it was episode 2 and it was another quick like 35, 36 minutes, I would have been cool with that episode and probably would have said, just give me a little bit of what's going on with them.
Okay.
An end at the beginning, or just give me that cold open, leave a cliffhanger and end with them in a very quick second episode. Then I'd have been like, okay, they set up where Mando is in episode 1. They set up the world in episode 2. Cool. How are they going in episode 3? Episode 3 kicks off really quickly. They're redeemed and immediately gets into the rest of the story. And it's like, okay, cool. I like how that's going. They're building it up early in the season to get that stuff out of the way. So that's how I'd have felt about that.
I mean, it's fair. I think a lot of people are probably on the same wavelength with you. It feels like Brian kind of feels very similar in a way, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this episode was bad in any way.
No, I don't think anybody is.
No,
just
I know.
Maybe like Bruce said, like maybe some weird placement.
Yeah, I almost
pacing.
kind of, I don't know. It was very weird to me how it was like Bo, Din, ginormous middle, and then we went back to Bo.
So maybe they should have done this, and this is just me spitballing here. And you could either make it episode 2 or 3. Instead of ending with them coming out of the water in number 2, you attach the beginning of this episode and the ending of this episode into one big episode, and then do a Pershing solo episode.
I don't think Pershing needs his own episode.
See, I think it's going to come back into a way where this episode is much more appreciated.
Yeah.
We
for
will.
sure.
100%.
Yeah.
The entire time watching it, I was like, when's the shoe dropping? When is she getting it? When is dropping?
Yeah.
Is
Moff
gonna come up somewhere? That's what I was waiting for. I was like, I know this is important. I know it's here for a reason.
Yeah. Did anybody buy that she was being good?
No.
Yeah.
For a second.
Brian didn't you?
Just because I like that. I liked the actress.
Katie
like,
O'Brien.
Oh, maybe she. I didn't until she gave him the biscuits, and I was like, oh, maybe. And then no.
I didn't buy it for 1 second.
Mm-mm.
I didn't.
If they wouldn't have reminded me of her getting the orders beforehand, then I would have been like, oh, okay, maybe. And then I was like, oh yeah, no.
She plays a really good bad. I gotta say, she plays a really good
I wouldn't be
bad.
surprised if she is a major antagonist at some point.
Well, I think right now that she's, whether it's for Gideon or someone else, I definitely think that she's high up in whoever is in control. Because she's doing some crazy stuff. Like I'm not gonna say assassinate, but she's basically taking off the table people who are very powerful with some information. Like Pershing, even though he's just like a cloner who kind of, came across the Empire, doesn't want to be there, he still knows a lot. And she took him off the table. Yeah. So,
and what I'm actually interested in is she grabbed whatever he took from him, like purposely.
Yeah, that's what
it's making me think they either have all the information that they need, or they have somebody else who needed his information.
Yeah,
that we're gonna be introduced to. That's either gonna be probably won't be another lackey. Will be somebody pretty important who can do the same thing that Pershing's doing.
It's very much like I have the book that tells you how to do it, but I need to know the ingredients just to do it. Like, go find me the ingredients, or vice versa. Most stories we end up seeing, like, I don't know, a book that has all their detailed plans, but you are missing a page or something. Like,
it's just a wild idea. And Rue, I don't know if you're watching The Bad Batch or not.
I'm not. No.
So, Brian, a few episodes ago, we met a brand new character who is now considered the lead cloner for the Empire. What if somehow that character comes back around as an older version of himself in this series? Like, and that character needed information from an Imperial Fleet.
I mean, you could, with the possibility of cloning, it could be literally anyone. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying
for sure.
I'm not saying it being a clone. I'm saying you have. I mean, we don't. Is there a single Kaminoan left at this point? Maybe. We don't know.
What if Lama Su is still alive?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And we've seen
wild.
We've seen one of them in live action before, so it's not like it would be the first time we're seeing it in live action. I mean, you could have. It could be anyone. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's Thrawn, like, or it doesn't have to be Gideon. Like, I tend to believe it's. So, I mean, I have a feeling it's someone that is more involved with the cloning, like probably knows how to do it, rather than it just being like, okay, we need to take this guy off the map because he's a threat. I think it's someone knows how to do stuff, because like Rue said, she took the bag. If she just wanted him captured, that's easy. She could have done that fine. But she waited for him to pick up. She goes, what do you need? Get what you need or whatever to do it. And then waited till afterwards.
Yeah.
So that cooler is going to come into play.
It's going to be interesting. I'm super excited to find out. I mean, I don't know who she's working for. It doesn't feel like Thrawn would care about cloning personally. We know Gideon does, obviously, because he was after Grogu for so long.
Palpatine does.
Please, let's not go there right now.
Snoke.
Let's not, Brian. Let's not go there, please. I don't want that in this show. I really do not want that in this show.
I don't either, but I would not be surprised if they tried a way to sneak that in there.
They can't drop that and then bring Thrawn in. They just can't.
We all know Snoke was a prisoner who doesn't know how to swim and ended up drowning and found a way to come back. We were taught that in Andor. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, please, let's not touch that. Let's just leave that for another time. Just for another time. Okay, question for both of you. So a little bit of a slower episode, kind of off track a little bit. It seems like just weird placement for the both of you. I'm curious on what does episode 4 need to do to like get you guys, not that you're not on board, but fully get you back on like, yes, this is what I want from this season. We're back fully on track. What does episode 4 have to entail for you guys?
Do what you did with episode 1 and 2.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
I need the conflict between Children of the Watch and Clan Kreese.
Same.
I need that going forward. Okay. I need that to kick off and be the rest of the season.
Okay. I mean, I agree with you. I think I want 5 episodes of that personally. I do.
So, do you want to know who's directing the next episode or no?
It's
Sure.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So Carl Weathers is doing the next ones, which makes me think that they're going back to Navarro.
But Mando's not going to be in it. Or Mando's not going to be in it.
No.
So,
like, it doesn't have to be like the like all-out fight between the two of them, but the next part of like the next chink in the what is that whole relationship going to be, and what is Mando's part in the middle of it?
I think this is probably what we're going to get.
Beautiful.
Them
Great.
fighting the pirates, because we saw in episode 1 at the very end, they were somewhat close to Navarro, and they were attacked. Mando killed a bunch of them, and Carl Weathers' character, Grief Karga, was talking about how they needed a marshal. You know, they're a big trading route with not really any attachments to any government. They're open for pirates attacking. It seems like the most fitting spot for that episode to be told, which I'm not against, because we get to see Seaweed Pirate again. All for it.
What's his name?
I forgot his name already. Andy's gonna kill me. I forget it every time. It's like on the tip of my tongue. King Gordian Shard?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm with what Gordon said about IG-11. If that's the Carl Weathers episode, we might get back to
this one
they did with IG. Yeah.
So if Gordon says here, just for everyone listening on audio, if he is still going to fix IG-11, what do you think he's going to use him for? I personally think they'll reprogram him to be Navarro's new marshal. I 100% agree.
I never thought about that, and I love that.
100% agree. Yeah, I agree. I think it's perfect. Him with like put a little Marshall star on him, give him a little cowboy hat. I'm all for that. My boy. He's right there. Come on, bring it back to life.
So in for that.
Where is I never remember Star Wars names if they're not in the movies. Where is my man Timothy Olyphant?
He's still on Tatooine.
Well, he's injured right now.
So he's injured. He's getting cybernetic parts, according to the Book of Boba Fett.
He's turning into the Winter Soldier.
And a lot of people brought that up of like, okay, well, it was teased that Greef wants a marshal for Navarro. Could Mando just go back to Tatooine and be like, hey, bro, I got a new job for you. Make him the new marshal of Navarro.
No, I want IG-11 now. Now that that's been said, that's what I want. I love that idea of IG-11 walking around being in charge because
I agree. I think it's a great choice. He saved Navarro, so make him the marshal.
God, I love that. And then
that leaves open the possibility of Cobb Vanth eventually becoming part of the Mandalorian clan. Because that's what I want.
Well, and it makes sense because you then are now leaving that character open to be reused again, but obviously you're not going to have Taika Waititi there for every single episode to voice it.
Yeah.
But if it gets down to like some ish that maybe like we're talking like the end all be all, like he's definitely going to be there to voice whatever has happened. So yeah, no, I love that idea. I never thought of it and I love it because I've been trying to think like for a while, like they're clearly trying to bring him back in some form. Like otherwise, why else would they have done it? Like, because he just moved on to R5 like that.
Well, and yeah, like you said, you now it opens the door for them not to have him every single episode alongside Din. Whenever they just go back to Navarro, IG-11 would be there. And I think it's a great choice seeing that character as a marshal alongside Greef, with Babu Frick and all kinds of other stuff. I think it's a great choice. It really is a good choice. Plus, he's a droid, so he's more capable of like getting shot at than someone who's not a droid. Obviously,
seen him fight.
Yeah, I mean, he jumps around on a speeder with Grogu on his back, killing stormtroopers. So
he turns around.
It kind of fits. Yeah, it kind of fits. I'm all for it.
Oh, I'm so into that. So on board with it.
We'll see. It definitely seems like we're going to be headed back to Navarro next episode, which I am not against whatsoever. All right, gentlemen, any final thoughts on episode 3, chapter 19, before we start to wrap up?
Yeah. What did we think about this new director? This is a first timer for Mandalorian.
I was very surprised. I saw the name. I was like, where is this dude from? He's the dude that directed Minari.
Mm-hmm.
And they are getting just epic directors. And I was like, okay, this episode makes sense.
Yeah. The last 2 episodes have been by brand new directors, which I thought they were both
you're right. The last one was the first one was Rick Famuyiwa.
No, the last 2 have been brand new directors, and I think they both are great.
Rachel Morrison was the last one. 2 did Fruitvale credits for Fruitvale Station, Black Panther, and Mudbound.
She's the. So basically, I think she's the choreographer.
She did something with Ryan Coogler. If you did,
I think she was like a stunt choreographer or something.
She got nominated for best cinematography. So
cinematographer.
Her cinematographer.
So she's a cinematographer who jumped in to direct, and I thought last episode was great. Like I thought she did great on that episode. And this, I think they did great on both episodes, and I like them getting. They're not going for like the big names they did right off the bat because they had some heavy hitters in season 1. Like they had some really, really big names. They're not doing the Peyton Reeds anymore. Like they have a couple of them, but they're allowing people to come in who are creative to tell stories. And we saw what it was able to do for someone like Bryce Dallas Howard. She's probably my favorite director out of all of them so far.
She has an episode again.
Yeah, and I'm super excited for that one.
She has an episode. Famuyiwa has 3 of them.
I love Famuyiwa.
And Filoni has 2.
So none of them say that he's credited as the director, but he's
Filoni. Then maybe he just wrote them. He might have just wrote.
Filoni wrote 2 with Favreau on 2 of them.
That makes sense.
So because the directors are 3 Famuyiwa episodes, 1 Bryce Dallas Howard, 1 Rachel Morrison, Lee Isaac Chung, Carl Weathers, and Peter Ramsey.
Ooh. He was one of the guys on Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yes.
That is dope.
His directing is Monsters vs. Aliens, Rise of the Guardians, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, We the People, and Lost Ollie. Oh, he even has hands in Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
I love what they're putting together for these shows. The writers and directors, they're doing a really good job of bringing a lot of people from a lot of different perspectives of filmmaking and just allowing them to do put their little touch on Star Wars, which I think is fantastic.
They're doing great. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
I think that's one thing that you cannot knock them on is the directors, because
agreed.
Every single one has been fantastic. Even putting people on the map, making them more of a common name that you know. I mean, Famuyiwa obviously had a catalog before, but he is definitely.
Yeah. I'm so happy what they did for him, because he hasn't actually directed many movies, but the movies he's made, The Wood and Dope, are 2 of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah, I would love to see him get a Star Wars movie. Whether it, just to allow him to put his creative touch on a full movie and let him write his own film. I think that'd be fantastic. But I also love the fact that he's just doing great Star Wars television, which I think is totally okay.
I mean, he's a full-blown executive producer on this season,
and he deserves to be, for sure.
Yeah. So there.
All right, gentlemen. Well, there it is. The Mandalorian, episode 3, chapter 19. Rue, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it. Loved having you back on the channel. Before we get out of here, go ahead and let the good people know where they can find you online.
Yep. Twitter, Nick888221, but you can also find me, type in my name, Amarú Moses, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also catch me on Bite Size Breakdown, bitesizebreakdown.com. We just released our top 5 serial killers. With Boston Strangler coming out, top 5 serial killer movies. So go check that out. We just had that feature. We also had our big, for the Oscars, what our predictions were going to be, our own Bite Size Awards, which is much more prestigious than the Oscars, of course, because there's so many. We got the Adrenaline Awards, the Laugh Out Loud Awards, the awards that the Oscars never want to actually promote. So what we thought the funniest of the year, the best action of the year, all that. Go check it out on bitesizebreakdown.com for all the latest stuff.
Yeah, all the links are in the description, guys. Website, YouTube channel, all that stuff. It's all down there just in case. You know where to find Brian and myself. We're here every Wednesday live at 6 o'clock Pacific talking Star Wars. Next week, we have Mr. Andres Cabrera with us. He'll be talking Star Wars with us. Super excited. He's a full-blown Star Wars nerd. I can't wait to dive into that brain of his. Very excited to have him on the show. Tomorrow, our Bad Batch review will drop at 9 a.m. Pacific. Make sure you're checking that out. Brian was with me this week, finally. After 2 weeks off. So we reviewed the latest episode of Bad Batch. And then, of course, Apocalypse Now every Tuesday at 7 o'clock Pacific right here on the channel. So everyone watching, appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Rue, thank you again, man. Can't wait to get you back on the channel soon. Stay safe, guys. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.